Welcome to the Grief Bully podcast. I am your host, J.Nicole. Thank you for joining our weekly discussion around grief, mental health, and your overall personal wellness. The Grief Bully podcast will serve as a vehicle to help you navigate life's journey. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share the podcast with anyone in your life that you think it will help. Let's bully grief together. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of the Grief Bully podcast. I am your host, J.Nicole. Guys, we are rocking and rolling back in the building for another episode, a solo round, a conversation. I want to get into this, but again, listen, I've got a lot of friends. Thank God for the blessing of friendships, for sure. But I realized a few days ago, someone was talking about making friendships an idol, like making it something that you worship, if you will. And I didn't really get too deep into what she was talking about, but I do know that depending on what faith you come from or subscribe to, making anything an idol is a no-no. Like, you shouldn't worship anything but God. And I'm like, well, I've never been in that situation where I felt as though I made my friendships idols at all. But the one thing I think I've learned over the years is the certain expectations that we put on friendships and that we put on friends, and the pressure that we put on ourselves to show up in our friendships. I thought it was an interesting point and something that I haven't really touched much on here, but I did talk in one of our previous conversations, just saying how I would want to get into this topic a little bit more, because the expectation and the accountability when it comes to friends, I think it's one of those landscapes that are ever evolving. And so, for example, when you're a lot younger, there's a lot less responsibility that you have in your life to maintain, whether that's your job, your bills, someone that you're dating, if you have children. You know, it could just be something as simple as like your commute for work. I commute pretty far every single day. So that in itself takes a lot out of me. And I know that I have different friends in different friend groups. So I do my best to absolutely be able to extend as much as I can. But then there does come that guilt of feeling like I've come up short, feeling like I'm not able to extend as much as I possibly would like to. I think it also becomes a thing too when you're, say for example, if somebody was really there for you in a season in your life when you was going through a lot, like a really tough time, you might almost feel indebted to them. You might almost feel like I've got to be there when you go through a tough time. And if you can't, you might really feel bad. But like, what if your circumstance has changed? So it could be like, well, maybe you guys are really there for each other at some point in life when you were young, wild, and free. And then now maybe you have like a ailing parent or something like that and you can't be there. So my whole thing is this. I don't know if we're all effectively communicating our needs and also our maximum outputs. So what I mean by that is saying to people, listen, like I have one friendship that we will have conversations on Instagram, we'll have conversations in a text message, all in the same day. So it's like we're just having multiple conversations. And it's so funny because we're both parents and we understand. And I think that we've come, and if I'm wrong, she'll know who I'm talking about and she'll come for me. But I think we've gotten to a place where it's like, I don't take anything personal, and I would pray that she doesn't as well, because we understand like our hands are full, literally. Like we're really juggling a lot and going through some difficult things, and we do our absolute best to be there for each other. And I'm super grateful for the friendship, and I always feel supported and loved, and I don't feel like she's not there for me. I feel like she is there for me, and I will hope that she feels the same for me. We might not be able to just hop on the phone and chat for hours, which generally if we hop on the phone, it does turn into hours, but we don't always have room for that in our schedules, or the time where one person is free, the other isn't, et cetera, et cetera. So all I'm saying is that some people take a lot of those things personal, but it's like, hey, what is the person going through? And well, I was there for them and they're not there for me, but like, Was it just easier for them to be there for you in that season, or excuse me, for you to be there for them in that season because life wasn't as demanding of you at that time? Maybe life is more demanding of them at this time. So I think being fair in what we put on people is real. A lot of times you'll see where it becomes a competitive thing between a person's partner and their friend, because those things shift and they change, and it's just a reality. And so having to make that adjustment, I think obviously one of the benefits is if you all can become friends and hang out, or at least cordial, but that's a hard thing to balance. I think too, sometimes the person that's your partner can't understand the demand that your friendship has, or the expectation that you put on it, and like the devoutness to it. So one thing that I try to stand by and have for the most part is, if I knew you and like you were my friend prior to meeting my partner, then my partner has to understand that like you're my friend. And especially if you've been a friend for a long time, like you're the consistent. This is the new person. So like, although that's your boo or whatever the case is, this person been your rock and been solid for you. So like, don't get blinded by that. Don't lose it. I feel like we really, to find that balance is really where you need to be. But sometimes people will go all in on this love, on this relationship, and just neglect the friendship. Then when the love and the relationship goes left, they want to come back to the friendship. And sometimes people are still there, but sometimes people are like, nah, like, you ain't have time for me. You didn't have time for me. So like, as an adult, I find tremendous value in having a few really solid friends. If I can encourage you to do anything, if you feel lost on your journey, or you just feel by yourself, I would pray specifically for friends and friendships. Like the song about like the no new friends. I mean, listen, I've made some great friends over the last couple of years that I pray continue to go. So it's like, if I have friendship for 20 and 30 years and I have a friendship for 5 years, what can we say about what's, not I'll say like better, but like what's more true, when the 5 year just time hasn't been able to prove, right? So in another 20 years, then it'd be like, okay, wow, these are all long-term friendships. But anyway, I say all that to say, because I think like friends gets a loose term. And I've even noticed that with my daughter, like when I'll be like, oh, look, that's your friend Timmy or whatever. And I'm thinking in my head, like, that is not her friend. She doesn't even know him. They're just hanging at the library or whatever the case is. But like, how do we look at that in our lives too? Like as adults, like there's associates, there's friends, there's confidants, there's people who, even within groups, there might be people who in certain seasons will bond and click more with each other. Let's just say if you have friends who 4 people are married, 2 aren't. Maybe the 2 who aren't bond a little more because they can't relate as much to the people who are married. Maybe there's people who have children and there's somebody who doesn't have children. A couple of my friends had kids pretty young. One of my friends, his kids are in college and almost going to be going to college again. My daughter is not even 2. So when they were parenting, it was foreign to me to be like, I can't do anything this weekend unless I bring the baby, or unless this and that. Like that just wasn't a part of it. So again, I don't want to sound like beating a dead horse, but it's just one of those things where I think the power of communication and its place in our ability to thrive in life is truly lacking. So many things become offensive because of the lack of communication, because of the lack of expressing. And the other thing that I think becomes challenging as well is social media. And I don't mean by looking at other people's lives and being envious of their friendships. What I mean is that, say if you saw 2 of your friends doing something and you're like, oh, they didn't have to invite me, like you don't know how that came about. It could be that there's a third party mutual friend that you don't know that happened to have them both at the same event at the same time. So again, it's like we have the communication when we're offended. Sometimes, like I'm pissed off or whatever, or you say it to somebody else but not directly to them. Let's start having more conversations. Let's start having more dialogue. Because I'm telling you right now, in my life, the guilt that I feel for not being able to show up for certain people, if someone was to address me about it, I would have a clear explanation. I'm totally clear that in this season of my life, I'm still adjusting to parenthood. I'm still trying to balance having a gig, building a business, being married. It's so many things that are going on that I would hear you out. But I will also say, like, if you could extend grace to me, I would certainly appreciate it, because I'm working on extending grace to myself, because I know I haven't been able to show up like I would like to. I used to go to all my friends' kids, like sports events, things like that. Like, I had a goal. I'm like, listen, if they got a full season of football or soccer or whatever they're doing, I'm going to make it to at least one. I'm going to try to make it to at least one. I've gotten so far behind on just being able to celebrate the people in my lives' birthdays when it's their actual birthday. I gave my niece her birthday gift like a month out. I currently have my nephew's birthday gift at my house. I've had it for like 2 weeks, and I haven't been able to get over there to give it to him. So a lot of things are just different now that I've come into parenthood, and I never knew that it would be this different, but it is. And so it's super important for me to be okay with that. I had aunt guilt for a while. Like, I still do now. The way that I used to be able to show up for young people in my life, I'm not. And I told my one nephew, we were driving, and I told him that I had aunt guilt, and I told him that I would feel like this, and I know stuff. And he was like, yeah, I see. So he was basically being honest with me, telling me that he recognizes the change in my ability to show up. And I apologize to him, but I let him know that, listen, like, this is different. Being a parent is different, bro. Like, whenever, even if I do have a free minute, because I don't even know what that is when you're trying to balance so much, I just like to maybe kick my feet up and like watch something and fall asleep on the couch. I haven't been able to just fall asleep in the middle of the day. I don't know. I have no idea. And even when I do that, I'll pop up like, oh no, I gotta be doing this, or I need to be doing that, and all of that stuff, right? So, like, be kind to your friends. Give people a break. If you truly value the friendship, before you take offense and get upset with somebody, please give them the opportunity to explain themselves. Give them the opportunity to tell you if they even care. Some people might not care. They might be like, well, that's on you. You can be offended. I don't care. This is what I'm going through in my life. So we don't need to take that approach, but we just need to look back and say, okay, I don't feel like you were there for me, etc. And this is the thing. Be mindful how you say that, because if you come to me and say something just completely like disrespectful in a way, I'm not going to hear it well. But if you're like, I usually felt like I could talk to you or count on you, or I reached out and you didn't say anything, like, everybody knows I'm not that great at text messages. If you want to talk to me, call me. If you call me on the phone, I'm going to answer your call, or I'm going to call you back and we're going to talk. If you text me, I'm commuting a lot, so I may not get right back to you, and then I might forget that you sent me a message until the next time I go to message you. So, like, let's just start allowing friendships to be friendships and not putting responsibilities on somebody that are unfair to them. I think that unfair pressure is really tearing a lot of people apart. I think it's tearing a lot of people apart because we just can't meet the demand. There's only but so many hours in a day. There's only but so much that your mind can take on. And then there's the people who are just the dumpers, right? Like, you're the person that just calls somebody or texts somebody and just dumps all your problems, but never asks them how they're doing, what's going on in their life. How could you be supportive of them? It's just like, I have people who do check on me that just hit me like, hey, was thinking about you. How you doing? Like, all right, I'm good. And then there's people who don't. And some of the people who don't check on me or ask me anything about my life are people who might take offense that I haven't necessarily been there for them, but not intentionally. But I'm just saying that I don't know that it's always a two-way street where it's like we can feel offended, but like, what are we actually doing? So, like, I could feel bad that I haven't done this or that or saw that person, but like, it's not like people are inviting me to things and asking me to do stuff and I'm saying no. It's not that at all. It's just there's no invitation. There's no extension. It's whatever. But I don't take it personal because I'm like, life is life, and for a lot of us. let's be cognizant of that. Let's be more supportive of knowing that if someone could, then they would be there. I mean, I think that's a really important thing, and just being accountable in that sense too, and just knowing that, we talked before about everything, I guess, like change is possible, and that I may have said that I would go here, go here, go here, but that was before this happened, that happened, and that happened. Let people off the hook for some of the things that they said or committed to when life allowed them to be able to commit to it. Maybe they got to backtrack now. Maybe they've got to make some changes. It's really important for us to keep that in mind and be open to that. Be open to that. Be kind to the people that are in our lives. Be kind to the people that love us. Those are like, I've talked a lot, and I've really said a lot, but I've also seen some of the nicest people, most genuine people be really hurt and sad because they're not meeting an expectation that they don't even want to meet. It's like, I committed to doing that, but like, I don't really want to do that anymore or attend that or whatever the case is. And it's like, you can't say it because somebody's going to be upset. Somebody's going to be offended. It's like, we want honesty. We want truth. We want communication until it becomes offensive. So if, for example, let's just kind of like start to trail off of our conversation, but let's leave it with, and let's talk about an example of that. So let's just say if someone, let me think, how can I put this? Let's say if they wanted to attend something that you were having. I have no idea what you were doing. Maybe you were having a cookout, barbecue or something, and that person was supposed to bring a certain dish, but they told you that before they lost their job. Then they're like, yeah, I don't actually want to do that. They might just not even want to do it because they don't want to be around people who going to ask them how's work. So something as simple as that. And this is not a real scenario. I don't ever know of a scenario like this ever happening. But what I'm saying is that we don't always know the PS. We don't know the reason behind it. We don't know the why. And a lot of times we don't even ask because we're offended. All I hear is, you don't care about me. I can't count on you. If it was one of your other little friends, you probably would show up and do it, and blah, 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 blah. Start being clear in our communication and start asking clarifying questions. And maybe we can move a little bit easier, a little lighter, a little better through life. It's hard. It's hard, guys. And I'm telling you right now, like, I tried my best and I have felt bad. And people wonder why I'm a little more reluctant to commit to something. Like, I'll see people asking about attending something and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I'll let you know. I'll let you know about that. Because I'm going to feel bad if I don't want to go at that time. But like, even now, what? I'm more guarded with my time. I'm more guarded with my time because my daughter is growing so quickly. I thought people just say that, but it's like, wow, how is she actually like talking and having conversations with me and doing all these things? So like, being present in her life is like my number one priority. Like, literally, like, spending as much time with her as I can, being a part of her growth. So if I got to choose between attending something that I don't want to attend or spending time with my baby, I'm going to spend time with my baby. And there was a time in my life where I would have felt bad for saying that. I would have felt guilty, but it's like, no, if I wanted to attend something, then yeah, I'm going to go. You got to find that balance. But I don't want us to continue to feel obligated to do things with our time that we cannot get back to please other people. Why would I do that? I wouldn't want you to do that. Don't come to something that I'm inviting you to or asking you to do when you really don't want to do it. You should do something better with your time. There was an accident in the area where I live with one of my really good friends, co-workers, and also some people that I grew up with as well, that just happened recently. Young guy, construction workers, utility workers, they're out beautiful day, just doing their job, and a car comes into the construction site and hits them, hits some other cars. I don't know all of the exact details, as it still was a developing thing at the time of recording this. And unfortunately, the young guy lost his life. He lost his life. Do you know how many people have to rethink how they handled him, how they spoke to him, what their last conversations were like, when the last time they did or didn't hang out? Like, the only commonality there is time. It's so freaking precious. And this experience that we're going through is so unpredictable that it's like, why spend so much time in confusion and regret? And rest in peace to him. And definitely send tremendous love out to my friend as he's grieving right now of losing his, not only his coworker, but his friend. And then the trauma that comes from that, because that's a job that he has to still do every day and worry about that. Like, I called him, and as soon as I heard him speak, I said, whew, whew. Because I'm telling you right now, like, yeah, no, that wouldn't be something that we want to even be thinking about or dealing with. And I think the PS to our entire conversation here is uncomfortable is better than resentment. So uncomfortable conversations, uncomfortable decisions is better than having resentment towards yourself for being somewhere you don't want to be, and towards other people for being somewhere that they don't want to be. Show up as much as we possibly can, but find balance. What you said and committed to before might be based on circumstances that have since changed. And I really could have just said all of that at the end and spared you the last 20 to 30 minutes. But I'm glad you stuck around to the end of our conversation. I hope in one way or another it helped you. Please drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if it resonated with you in any way. And if it did, don't just let me know. Share it with someone else in your life. Like, reach out, let people know we're having these conversations over here. And if you have topics, ideas, things you want me to touch on, I absolutely would do that. And we have these conversations in between our guest conversations as well. So yeah, drop comments. Let me know. I appreciate you. And to all my friends out there, I love all you guys. Please, 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 please extend grace to me. Please extend grace. I'll extend it back, and we'll keep moving on this journey. Definitely go follow me over on Instagram at I_am_J_Nicole, guys. So next time, you already know, love and light.